Weather briefing for Buffalo and Western New York for March 3rd and 4th, 2023, now on Weather Buff. I am Jack Knack, the weather medic, the doctor of weather, with your weather briefing for Buffalo and Western New York for Friday afternoon at 1 p.m., March 3rd, 2023, through dusk on Saturday, March 4th, 2023. Well, 24 hours out from this weather event, and unfortunately, the weather models still have some disagreement, and that is most disappointing. Yesterday, one American model and the European model trended toward a warmer solution with more rain than snow, with another American model and the Canadian model trending colder with more snow than rain. At the time of this taping, it appears the warmer solution is gaining consensus with all the models. That said, there remains a sharp and significant difference in the extent of modeled snowfall, especially from the New York State Thruway northward to the Lake Ontario shoreline, including the Rochester metropolitan area. Temperature differences of a degree or two can make a huge difference in winter precipitation type. For a tutorial on types of winter precipitation and how they form, I have put a link to that video in the description and at the end of this video. Well, let's look at the weather forecast models. Before I start, I want to point out that when you look at this map and subsequent maps, the rain is in green, the snow is in blue, the freezing rain is in a peachy color, and sleet is in purple. We have a low pressure system that's going to track across Texas this afternoon, and this low pressure system will finally move its way into the Ohio Valley by later on Friday afternoon, and it's going to slowly deepen into a 28.76 low, which sees deepening right here, and that's when it's going to be its deepest. And the counterclockwise flow of the low pressure system is going to bring up copious amounts of Gulf moisture into the area by Friday afternoon. And as it moves towards Western New York on Friday night, notice the energy from the storm here is going to transfer to a low over the coast of the United States, and watch when it happens here, and when there it goes, it transferred over here, and when it does that to the coastal low, the energy is going to transfer from the original low over the Ohio Valley to the coast, and the dynamics are not going to be quite as favorable. The precipitation is going to be less heavy as we get into Saturday morning. The track of the low is important since this will determine thermal profiles and precipitation type and the potential for dry sliding to cut down on the precipitation amounts and rates. It does appear there is a better chance for a dry slide diminishing precipitation from south to north as early as mid-evening Friday and pushing into the early morning hours on Saturday across much of the area south of Lake Ontario. At about 10 o'clock on Friday evening, we have this dry slot punching into Western New York, and it's going to slowly advance through the region, and that's going to be a couple hours, and that's going to cut down on precipitation rates at 10 o'clock. There it is at 11 o'clock. There it is at midnight. Notice this little nice dry slot over Western New York, cutting down precipitation rates. This is the time. Let's start it at 2 o'clock Friday, March 3rd, 2023. For those that are interested, the time is always right here. If you want to pause the video and look at a particular time. At 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, The precipitation is going to start over far southwestern New York by 3 o'clock. The rain has moved into Chautauqua County and along the I-86 corridor. By 4 o'clock, it's in southern Erie County with the rain, and the southern tier, especially inland in the hills, is going to have some snow. By 5 o'clock, precipitation starts as rain in western New York and by the Buffalo area and the lake shore. You do have some freezing rain in parts of the southern tier and snow in the higher elevations. By 6 o'clock, you still have rain mixed in with a little bit of snow. The question here is how intense the precipitation is going to be, because what we have is dynamic cooling from that intense precipitation rates. And the more dynamic cooling and the heavier the precipitation rate is, the more chance it's going to change over briefly to snow before changing back into rain as the nose of warmer air comes into the area. 7 o'clock, a lot of far western New York is rain, a little bit of snow toward Rochester. By 8 o'clock, we still have that same scenario. 9 o'clock, some heavier stuff moves in by the darker colors. A lot of snow north of the border into southern Ontario, rain in the mainly western New York, except some snow below the Niagara Escarpment. And we have some freezing rain and sleet in the far southeastern part of western New York. By 10 o'clock, that goes to rain in most places with a little bit of freezing rain where the escarpment is. 11 o'clock, we have a dry slide I talked about earlier move in, and by midnight. By 1 o'clock, we have some rain getting back into the Buffalo metropolitan area. And this is about the time that low pressure that was coming in that I mentioned before is going to start shifting to the East Coast, taking with it its energy, but also starting to pull in cooler air. Notice the snow line by 2 a.m. is in Niagara County already, with some heavier snow rain south of the Tonawanda Creek. By 3 a.m. in the morning, that snow line moves in right where Buffalo is, and points north, points south have rain. And by 4 a.m., we get more of that snow, less of that rain, which is confined mainly to the Lake Erie shoreline. By 5 o'clock, same deal. By 6 o'clock, same thing. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, snow starting to diminish in the morning. A little bit of rain around the Buffalo metro area by the lake shore. By 9 o'clock, snow becomes scattered. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, some scattered snow, a little bit of snow around noon. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock. By 4 o'clock, the snow is about to end and move out of the area. And that's it at 5 o'clock. And by sunset, it's already where Rochester is. Let's look at temperature starting about 2 o'clock. Notice we're around 40 something or low 40s in Buffalo and western New York with the onset of the precipitation. Still by 4 o'clock, it's 40 in Buffalo, so roads are warm. 37 in Jamestown. By 5 o'clock, cooling a little bit to 39 in Buffalo. By 6 o'clock, 37 in Buffalo, cooling into the mid-30s in the southern tier. By 7 o'clock, mid-30s everywhere. So the snow that's falling there should be a lot of melting going on as well. By 8 o'clock, still mid-30s everywhere. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12, midnight, 1 a.m. And then we jump to 7 o'clock in the morning, still 37 in Buffalo, 36 in Jamestown. So everything that's falling should have a lot of melting as well. And by 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, we're still in the mid-30s. for temperature. And taking a look at precipitation, at 1 o'clock on Friday, no one has precipitation yet in western New York. By 7 o'clock at night, we have 0.2 of an inch in Buffalo, a little bit less in Niagara County, more toward as you move southwest into Chautauqua County, 0.4 of an inch already. By 1 o'clock Saturday morning, we already have 0.7 of an inch of rain in Buffalo. Really, the whole area, about 2/3 to 3/4 of an inch of rain. By 7 a.m. on Saturday, the pink shade is showing an inch. So those areas are getting a little bit over an inch. Thruway South, we're a little bit under an inch of rain, 3/4 to an inch. By 1 p.m. on Saturday, the 4th, we have a little bit over an inch of precipitation Thruway North, a little bit under an inch of precipitation Thruway South. Taking a look at ice on Friday, March 3rd at 1 p.m., we have no ice anywhere in western New York. Starting at 7 o'clock on March 3rd, we have noticed in the southern tier, we have a couple hundredths of an inch of ice, although that could be enough to make things a little slippery in spots. By 1 a.m., we have more freezing rain that's occurring, and that's mainly going to be south of the Thruway, a few hundredths of an inch of freezing rain, except the pink is you're getting toward 1/10 of an inch. We have isolated spots where we do have 1/10 of an inch that's maximized over the interior southern tier. By 7 o'clock Saturday morning, March 4th, we still have a little bit more ice accumulation, but under 1/10, not enough to cause power line damage, but enough to make things slippery in spots. And this is by 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, March 4th. Finally, total snowfall. By 1 o'clock on Friday, March 3rd, we have nothing falling yet. By 7 o'clock at night, because it was so warm, we have under an inch of snow falling throughout most of western New York in all spots. By 1 in the morning, notice that that snow cover is a little bit more intense, an inch or less probably from the Thruway South, where we have 1 to 2 inches in most of Niagara County. But as you're moving toward northeast toward Rochester from Buffalo, things are picking up 3 inches to 4 inches in the Rochester area by 1 a.m. March 4th. By 7 a.m., we have about 3 inches in much of Niagara County, 4 to 5 inches in extreme northeastern Niagara County, getting toward Rochester and Orleans County. We have 5 to 6 inches, where the Thruway South, we're still at about 1 to 2 inches of total snowfall. And by 1 o'clock, when it's starting to really wind down on Saturday, March 4th, we have once again similar amounts, not much added to that. And by 7 o'clock at night, there's your snowfall totals. If you would like to see more of these posts or would like to say thanks for this one, please consider becoming a supporter. To support the channel, go to patreon.com/WXMedic. This is Jack Knack, the Weather Medic, the Doctor of Weather. Thanks for making Weather Buff part of your day. Good day, everyone.
Weather Buff. Your backyard.